Member for College Nunatta, Mr. Lightstone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions today are for the Minister responsible for Nunavut Energy Corporation and are regarding the Commercial and Institutional Power Producer Program. As the Minister is aware, I'm a strong and vocal proponent of alternative and renewable energy initiatives necessary to decarbonize our territory, our country, and our planet. Mr. Speaker, Nunavut Energy Corporation launched the Commercial and Institutional Power Producer Program in 2021. The program is designed to allow existing customers to generate electricity using renewable energy systems and sell it to the corporation at a rate equal to the avoided cost of diesel. Mr. Speaker, I agree with the corporation that it is imperative that all power producer programs remain cost neutral to customers, but it is also equally important to make the program attractive enough to encourage Nunavut to make the investment. Mr. Speaker, where my position diverges from the corporation is that I do not agree that the cost of diesel should be the sole determinant of an alternative pricing structure, and neither does the Utility Rates Review Council. Mr. Speaker, upon review of the report I tabled yesterday, titled Specialized Pricing Strategy for Renewable Energy Suppliers to Nunavut Energy Corporation, the intergroup consultants painted a much more complete picture of the true cost savings renewable energy provides to Nunavut, including the avoided cost of diesel, non-fuel operating costs, capital costs such as asset life extension, and avoided cost of diesel generation outside of Nunavut Energy Corporation. Mr. Speaker, the consultants also provide a much more realistic price in the range of approximately 40 cents a kilowatt hour for the purchase of renewable energy. Mr. Speaker, my first question to the Minister is, does he agree that Nunavut Energy Corporation should be providing a much more realistic price for commercial and institutional power producers? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Minister responsible for the Nunavut Energy Corporation, Mr. Paulo Siakero.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank my colleague for bringing forward and continuing to bring forward a very important subject. The member is right that Nunavut Energy Corporation continues its effort to reduce Nunavut's reliance on diesel power by developing programs such as the CIPP, the Commercial and Institutional Power Producer Program. The member did table the report, which is very extensive and really outlines, and it allowed the corporation to look at potential structures where we could provide the different supports. And as such, as I indicated previously, through this group, I am intending to bring forward incentive to the Executive Council to see what other programs and services we could provide through these. But as the report concluded, at this point in time, with Nunavut having the highest power rates that we do have in the whole country, that any new subsidy program would have to come either from the government itself or the federal government without putting direct harm to the small consumers we do have. So with that in mind, I am working with my colleagues here, and we'll hope to have a pricing structure that addresses the potential opportunities through the CIPP and aiming towards the end of this fiscal year, 2023. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
First supplementary, Mr. Lightstone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do appreciate the Minister's response. Mr. Speaker, last year I posed questions to the former Minister responsible for Nunavut Energy Corporation, June 6, last year's spring sitting. Mr. Speaker, at that time I had indicated that of the corporation's $130 million in power sales, the GN departments and corporations paid $60 million, roughly 50%. And Mr. Speaker, with the recent changes to the general rate application, the GRA, which saw government power rates increased, Mr. Speaker, that ratio and those millions of dollars are only going to increase. Mr. Speaker, getting to the point, last year I'd asked the Minister of Cold Lake Energy Corporation if he had had discussions with other GN departments and territorial corporations on utilizing this commercial and institutional power producer program. So again, I'd like to ask the new minister responsible for Cold Lake Energy Corporation if you'd be able to update the House on discussions between the corporation and the GN departments and territorial corporations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister responsible for the Cold Lake Energy Corporation, Mr. Paulosi Akero.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, thank my colleague for asking that question. The members, right through when we did bring forward a general rates application and have standardized it, it has made a huge impact directly to the communities, the small communities in particular. And on that note, before the GRA, I'd just like to use an example of Whale Cove, where we saw electricity rates at 12.86 cents per kilowatt, and now with the general rates application, now in that community alone sees a standard 51 cents per kilowatt, and that in itself is a huge investment that our government made, and that's directly from the government's incentive to provide a general rate application throughout the whole territory. So to that note, Mr. Speaker, we do continue to communicate interdepartmentally. Specifically, we communicate with the Nunavut Housing Corporation as well as the Community Government Services on all opportunities surrounding this program. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Second and final supplementary, Mr. Lightstone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister for the response. And I do appreciate the government's approach in this most recent general rate application, the amendments to the power rates, and the impact that the government is having on taking the brunt of the increased costs. Mr. Speaker, since the beginning of the 5th Assembly, I have been raising these concerns with the Government of Nunavut, encouraging the government to take on a greener approach, especially when it comes to major infrastructure projects, which have projected annual power consumption in excess of $500,000 a year. Mr. Speaker, looking at the Nunavut Arctic College Nunatta campus expansion, which was completed in June of 2019, 4 years ago, that expansion to the campus included a substantial amount of solar panels, and as far as I know, is still unconnected and just collecting snow and dust. Mr. Speaker, it's been 6 years since I've been raising these issues and concerns, and I just want to put it on record that I expect some change in the upcoming capital estimates in the fall sitting. Mr. Speaker, when we look at these $100 million projects with $500,000 power bills every single year, I think it is imperative that we do what we can. And in addition, it is the government, all governments have fundamental responsibility to be effective stewards of taxpayer money. Mr. Speaker, stewardship is the responsible allocation, management, and oversight of public funds to create long-term value for money. Mr. Speaker, I don't have a last question. I just wanted to make that comment that it has been a long 6 years, and I expect some changes going forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That was just a comment.